rotating, building upon one another like Tetris blocks, until it was game over. The fire roared in gratitude, and she blew it a kiss. "No," she said. "Thank you. Oh, mother dear, we're not the fortunate ones, and girls, they wanna have fun." Cyndi Lauper, singing her life story. She poked the smoldering burn pile and surveyed the garden into which they'd invested a lifetime of labor. The brick patio Sean had built himself, after much swearing and sweat. The asparagus patch, long gone to seed. The Macintosh trees, once spindly twigs from the nursery, now drooping under the weight of ripe, red fruit. At last, her gaze rested on their son's old redwood swing set, long neglected, that after much hemming and hawing they'd decided to leave for future grandchildren. Lynn closed her eyes, imagining those grandbabies, red-headed like her, fat cheeks dotted with freckles, laughing as they crawled up the yellow slide. It was almost as good as seeing them for real, even if she'd never be able to hold them, or sink her nose into their soft curls. Anyway, it would have to do. She was trying to be grateful for what she had been given, instead of bitter over what she would lose, because what she would lose had never really been hers. This was, perhaps, the most worthwhile lesson she had gleaned from this otherwise useless, rotten, lousy disease. Life is a lease, and God is the landlord. We mortals could stake no claim. She spritzed the fire with bottles of grapeseed extract and pomegranate juice, hosed it down for good measure, and nearly stubbed her toe on the hoe her husband had carelessly deposited by the garden. Sean would let the hoe lie there all winter, rusting under the snow. So, with much difficulty, she got herself to the garage and hung it on its hook. Slipping out of her pink garden clogs, she opened the side door to the kitchen, shrugged off her zip-up jacket, and washed her hands at the sink, leaning heavily against the basin. Only 3:30, and already the sun was low in the sky. The school bus passed, stopping with a whoosh of its brakes at the Brzezinski's house. The doors opened, unleashing the cacophony of shouting children, and the two Brzezinski boys ran up their driveway, tossed their backpacks onto the lawn, and tumbled in a mock fight for the entertainment of their fellow inmates. Lynn dried her hands on the red gingham dish towel and shook her head. Those Brzezinski boys were going to be making news someday, one way or another. Time to call Tiffany. Tiffany could barely hide her relief when Lynn told her she was giving her the night off. "Go see a movie," Lynn said. "Have some fun for once. Forget about me." Babysitting a terminally ill woman was no job for a person with Tiff's vitality. The woman might be in her 20s, but she couldn't stand still for 5 minutes without bubbling like a kid. She was exactly like her mother, Mary Kay, a ball of constant energy, a force majeure. Lynn had been worried what would happen to Tiffany after she was gone, but lately she'd been considering the flip side, that by stepping out of the picture, she'd be opening the cage doors and setting this wild bird free. Tiffany could return to her beloved Boston and a much more exciting job in the Mass General ER, instead of babysitting her mother's friend, who mostly dozed and stared out the window. Yes, it would be a good thing. Good for everyone. When she was done talking to Tiff, Lynn left the phone off the hook and tackled the stairs. It took so long, what with stopping and sitting to rest at every other step, that it was almost dusk when she reached her bedroom. After a nap, a brief shower, and a change into her PJs and fluffy flannel housecoat that she would not miss, she opened the top drawer of her bureau for a pair of socks and caught sight of the orange envelope addressed to the Ladies' Society for the Conservation of Martinis. No, that would never do. Sean or his snooping sister Danielle would find it, and that would be the end. She opened the envelope to check the contents once more.